Yes, Deer Month is finally over, and I won't be making any friends with this last review. There are certain books that annoy me to such an extent that I have to put them away after I read them. I have to sit on them, metaphorically speaking, and give myself time to calm down and think clearly. The Gunslinger was one of those books. There are things of merit in this, but believe me when I say that this novel is, and I've thought about this long and hard, it is the worst Stephen King novel ever written. This story is tirelessly repetitive, and it's about as dry as a stale piece of cornbread if it was made with sawdust instead of corn. So, what works here? Well, anything that deviates from the monotony of the present day shit. Roland speaking of his experiences in Toll with the man in black, and the churchwoman who was impregnated with a demon. This results in the town turning against him and he having to kill everyone there, men, women, and children alike. Him meeting Jake, and them meeting the succubus that gives Jake the jawbone as a lucky charm. Jake's backstory, the stories about Roland's childhood and challenging for his manhood and his friends. His mom being a hoe and boinking the court mage. He and Jake being attacked by mutants and Jake being sacrificed so that Roland can see the man in black. There is good stuff here, but what masks it is how dry the rest of the book is. The Gunslinger was a chore to get through, and when I say repetitive, I mean repetitive. Sweet baby Buddha, this thing never ended. If you took out what I mentioned above, like what I had just mentioned, this entire story is Roland going somewhere, meeting someone, eating and sleeping, rinse and repeat. In this 300-page novel, I counted 17 times that Roland either fell asleep or told someone to go to sleep before going to sleep himself. It is the literary version of eat, sleep, rave, repeat. If it wasn't for the flashbacks and the occasional interesting tidbit, this thing would have been the book equivalent of getting a root canal with no numbing. Instead, it's simply the book equivalent of getting a tooth pulled. Some of the words used in this are hilarious. I know that in his autobiography, Stephen King said the road to hell is paved in adverbs, and I will defend him by saying that he has acknowledged he was guilty of this in his earlier works. And damn right was he. The road to hell is paved in adverbs, King, and I'm sure some of those came from this book. Listen to some of these, okay? Uncannily, sunkenly, peripherally, flyingly, unthinkingly, blackly, lumpishly, and, my personal favorite, bovinely. Just as a side note, flyingly, sunkenly, lumpishly, and bovinely aren't even recognized by the writing software I use to write my scripts. Christ. Bovinely? That's some Stephanie Meyer level adverbs you have going on there, King. And to just get a few nitpicks in, there's a line that says, quote, "She sighed. It was an old yellow sound, like turning pages." I bought this book at a thrift store, and it was water damaged and pretty old. Let me listen here. Nope, doesn't sound like a lady breathing. Then there's, his father does not cough, but he has a hard grin, like the steak knives they sell in supermarkets. Roland, as a boy, is talking to his father about a cook that was hanged. He describes hanging as, quote, being neck-popped. Really? Neck-popped? At the time he challenges court for his manhood, I think he's 14. He's between 10 and 14. I know that for sure. And I'm pretty sure that a 10 to 14-year-old knows how to say hanging or hanged. Roland fucks a chick named Alice when he's staying in Toll. I know this because not only did I read the segment where they were fucking, but every time Alice is brought up again, it's always followed up by the woman in Toll. I'm not kidding. 4 different times the book would say Alice, the woman in Toll. Alice, the woman he bedded in Toll. The woman he met in Toll, Alice. I get it. She was in Toll. Shut the hell up. Finally, as a side note to the repetitive nature of this thing, the phrase, the boy, was used 105 times. It was constantly, the boy, the boy, the boy. How hard is it to say Jake? And I know what you're thinking. Oh, 105 times and a little over 300 pages, that's not too bad. Oh, you sweet, naive child. Try 80 pages. In 80 fucking pages, the phrase "the boy" was used 105 times, sometimes 4 to 5 times per page. Oh, by the way, I didn't even start counting until page 194, and he met Jake back on page 102. Do you see what I mean when I say this is one of King's worst works? Not only does it repeat itself like a scratched record, constantly reminding the reader of things they already know, and using certain phrases to the point that it's mind-numbing, it completely lacks the guilty pleasure factor that most of King's bad novels have. At least with Sundog and Rose Madder, there were things about it I could laugh at. Here it's so dry and pretentious you can't appreciate a single damn thing. Who cares if there are actual decent points in this 300-page shit pile? I can't get over the fact that our cardboard cutout characters are eating and sleeping for the 7,000th time. And don't come at me with the, oh, well, it's metaphorical, and it blends occultism, western, and sci-fi elements. Good for it. It's still a slog to get through. And I'm also sure someone will comment and say, well, you know, there's a revised edition. Yes, there is, and I will get to that someday. But that doesn't change the fact that the original sucks dick. So yeah, The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger, gets an F.